Oh yeah, no, that would be horrendous.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, beautiful day, and it's good to be together here to learn more about what's going on in our Menno Haven community and just to gather together. I'd like to start with a very short devotional. And I was in one of the gift shops recently, and I found this neat little book called Moments with God, 1 minute devotionals. So I'd just like to share this one with you. It's called Thoughts of Peace. When I just keep quiet and think only thoughts of peace, and if I abide in stillness, my restless murmurings cease. And the scriptures from Psalm 46, verse 10, be still and know that I am God. And then it gives a little suggestion for the day. Today, accept yourself with loving kindness. Be considerate of yourself. Take time to think quietly and peacefully and enjoy the serenity that emerges. Let us pray. Lord, give us your peace, that peace that passes understanding, and cover us in your serenity, we ask. Abide with us and help us to abide with one another as well. Now be with us in our presentations today. Be with the presenters. Give them your strength. Give them your wisdom. And Lord, we just give thanks for our Menno Haven community. Help us continue to grow together each day. Amen. 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 And now you, Davis. Sorry.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Well, let's see. See if I can be able to. Can you hear me okay? All right. Well, I'm going to jump into some things, a few updates. We have a new member of our board, Ron Geip. Ron has served on the Menno Haven board before, and based on his skill set in business and as a CPA, the board wanted to bring him back after a sabbatical. And Ron is the retired CFO of Martin's Potato Rolls. And so we're glad to have Ron back on the board. Within our own ranks, Tori Lorenz has been serving as our interim Director of Team Services, and she's done a really nice job. And so she has taken that role full time now. And then as well on our senior team, Elisa Miller is currently an interim contracted Chief Financial Officer. So Elisa certainly would not transition into the same way that Tori did. So she works for a company called Kairos, which does a lot of consulting in our world. And so she's helping us right now during our interim period. All right, so I want to talk about today's focus, and certainly this is an update from the Chief Executive Officer. And you know, most of my role is typically about the future and trying to understand where we are headed as a industry or profession. Where's Menno Haven headed as a community? And my job is to not necessarily be in today, but to be somewhere in the future. And I love this picture, you know. Why is my focus the future? You know, it is to continue this organization, its legacy, and the things that we love and enjoy about this community today. So as things change, right, as the world changes, we have to be able to steadily sail these seas. So I want to talk about some of those things maybe in the short term. You know, what are some of the things that are challenging to us? And I think you probably could have written this slide as easily as I have. But, you know, some of the things that are challenging us today have been the workforce. I think if you think globally, nationally, right, there's lots of issues within workforce. We've heard the term Great Resignation. We know the pandemic punched a hole in the U.S. economy and created all kinds of movement of people. But I want to point out the fact this term of demographics or even regional demographics, right? We have known for quite a while that more people would be exiting the workforce from 2020 through the year 2050. So we do know, and that's a condition that's here locally. It's a condition that is across the United States. So we have known, right, that workforce is going to be a focus and a challenge for most industries within the United States, us specifically. And so we've thought about those things and we've been working toward those things, but I think COVID-19 and the public health emergency that unfolded really, you know, highlighted what we knew was there and really accelerated some of the pressures. You know, so, you know, and how does that play out for us? I think you've seen some of those staffing shortages we've had. In our year of 2022, we spent over $400,000 through May on agency labor, right? Just for an organization like us, that's a pretty big ticket. Now, if you were to talk to WellSpan, they would say, "Oh, I wish we could get by with $400,000 in agency labor." But for Menno Haven, that's a pretty big lift. We're certainly seeing inflation in our wages. We have needed to increase several positions. So probably about 2/3 of our positions got pretty hefty raises in June that we were not necessarily planning for. And we've identified others that will need raises within the next budget cycle. And the next budget cycle will probably require higher than normal just cost of living raises than what we typically do. We're seeing, you know, inflation in food, energy, labor, and like I said, labor wages. We are seeing stagnation in revenue. Medicare put in a pretty good, what they call market basket increase, but they also took out a lot because they said they've been overpaying us anyway. So that is a little bit frustrating. And I know it has been one of my own soapboxes about Medicaid revenue in this state, but actually, for the first time in a decade, in January, we're going to get a Medicaid increase. So that will be helpful, 17.5%, that will go directly to funding Medicaid dollar for dollar based on that raise. So meaning a couple of years ago, Medicaid in the state of Pennsylvania was privatized. So there's 3 major insurance carriers that we call community health choices that manage that for Medicaid. This 17.5%, they are required to fully pass to the facility. So they don't get to take any off the top, which was good news to my ears. So that is, will add not significant dollars, but all dollars help. I think that'll be about a $600,000 impact to Menno Haven, which will certainly help us offset some of the labor costs we've had to incur. Year over year, cost of operation, and this is a phenomenon that's happening everywhere, not just Menno Haven, but our costs have been rising faster than our revenues. So, I put this illustration up from 2018 through 2021, we've seen about a 19% increase in cost, and we've only been able to recoup or raise rates and revenues equal to about 12%. So even from 2018 to today, or 2021 into 2021, we're about 7% worse just operationally from operational cash flow. So if you do that math, or if you believe that will continue, right, then that tells you at some point we have to address that situation. And then COVID-19, it's just not done. Suzette and I, 27 and a half months, we didn't fall to that thing. And finally we did. So, it is still here. It is still impacting us. And in fact, even now locally, we're seeing hospitalizations go up again. So, when you watch the Haven Connect this week that we filmed yesterday, I think comes out today, I am saying if you think you are in a high-risk group, it is time, again, to think about your own personal precautions, for hand hygiene to social distancing to in large rooms. If you feel you're at risk, to even think about wearing your mask. Okay? So it is not done. All right, so how are we responding? What is Menno Haven trying to do about just the current short-term issues that we're seeing? Certainly with our team, we talked about raising rates and also focusing on our culture and growing our ability to recruit. And I want to talk a little bit about what I call scale. So as an organization, right, when one set of the business, the cost to operate begins to grow larger than your revenue, right, that's an unequal balance in the scale. So as an organization, you got to figure out over time how to make those scales fairly even. So that's what I mean when I say the term scale. So we do have to find scale within revenue. So, we do have room to grow census. And it was when I get to the financial portion, right, I'm going to be able to say we are pretty much tracking with our current financial projections. We are actually ahead of our performance that we did back in 2018 and 19 when we did our bond issue, which is just, I praise God for, and we're actually ahead in our budget. And there's a couple of reasons that I'll talk about when we get there. So there is still room for us to gain in census from pre-pandemic levels, which is good news. So that certainly can help our scale. Certainly there will be rate increases in our 2023 budget cycle. And to be honest, we did debate even doing this year a mid-year rate increase. But based on how we've been able to manage so far, we did not feel we needed to pull that trigger. But again, as inflation has taken hold, we'll have to really look and see what that will be in the rates next year. Growth. Certainly as a business, we may need to look at growth and specifically even leveraging some strategic partnerships. You know, when I got here in 2014, in my first town hall meeting in November of 2014, we talked about the Covenant Health Alliance of Pennsylvania, which was an organization that Menno Haven joined, which are 15 other Anabaptist retirement communities. And part of that conversation during that time was how could we begin within that group to perform or come together in ways to create strategic alliances that we one day, ultimately, our goal was, could we share some services? Would there be ways that we could collaborate, you know, with certain shared departments to be able to shed some overhead? And so we continue to pursue those types of arrangements, or to at least have those conversations. Back in 2014, those were not as popular. As we've hit these pressures today, well, some of those conversations, organizations are beginning to say, okay, what are ways we could work together? What are ways we could share cost to do things more effectively and efficiently, while also continuing to be who we are to be able to provide our mission long term. Other parts are about scale and efficiency. So, you know, how do you cut cost? So certainly we want to make sure that we have a thoughtful approach to leadership replacement. So even with our CFO, you know, which is a high dollar position, how do we replace that position, and what is the best way to do that? We are going to do an operational assessment this fall. A company called Continuum Development Services, which is a national leader in consulting with life plan communities, is going to do an assessment of our entire operation against national standards to certainly give senior management and our board some thoughtful recommendations for how we could do things better and more effectively. And then also strategic planning, right? We're currently working through strategic planning, which is a good thing in this day and age, but it also means we have to be very fluid in strategic planning, because a lot of things are still changing. The economy's changing, the world is changing, and it's really difficult right now to truly in stone know what the next best steps are. So I think, you know, we do have to be very fluid during this time. All right, so I want to hit on a few other things that I think are positive. This right now is our 2022 turnover trend. So you can see, and I think I've said this a few times in our Haven Connect or Haven Today, that about March seemed to be ground zero. And that seemed to be about the highest of our turnover since 2020. But since that time, we've been doing really well. We've gotten better. So we've been able to hire more. We've seen turnover go down. And in fact, our projected right now is lower than last year. And my personal goal is that we end the year at 35% or less. I don't know if we're going to get there, but I do think we have a chance, specifically if this current trend continues. We have a couple of teams out there working, one looking at what we call our first year turnover. We have identified that a lot of our turnover happens within the first 90 days. And so how do we impact that group to better onboard them, better indoctrinate them to our culture, and also better support them? Because if we can get people to be here for a year, we tend to be able to see them stay longer. So they're really at risk early. So we're doing a lot of things. Our team is to work on that, as well as just doing a lot of things right now to try to increase retention and engagement. So we also have a team that's working on that, doing lots of different things. So certainly appreciate your thoughts and prayers for us to be creative and be able to connect with our team, and I think just continue to work on our culture and how we support them. You know, we work right now, interesting, we have 5 different generations in the workforce, and each of them sort of see the world differently. And so as managers, we've got to adapt and adjust ourselves in approaches to work with all of them. And, you know, we are seeing so much change about how people even view work. And the younger generation that's coming today, you know, they want more work-life balance. They want more flexibility. And so as an organization, how do we retool ourselves to do that? And how to, you know, the old guys like me, you know, just says, look, you're getting a paycheck, get her done. You know, some of us, some guys like me, we got to work to retool ourselves and how we think and how we work. But I think these are fun, challenging times and challenging, exciting times for Menno Haven. We are currently working through our strategic initiatives. Each one of these is going well, and different things are happening across the organization with them. I want to just officially announce to everyone that in December, Project Genesis is done. We will be able to put a check mark, and Project Genesis will be in the rear view mirror. And it has been quite a ride, wouldn't you say, team? All right. But, and just as a reminder, you know, it was about adding the Life Enrichment Center over here and the memory homes over here. We added the rehab center, the resident life center, the new households for long-term care, and we expanded independent living. Now, as you can see, our first iteration of expanded independent living was there. This is the Northgate apartment building, but we moved that and expanded IL in this area here. But we have under construction our next multi-year strategic plan, and we are continuing to work on that. And we're calling it right now Operation Bloom. Best way I could put it. And this comes from, and again, the board has to ratify if we're really going to call it this. But this is huge terminology, and this is how I'm framing it. You've probably heard that moniker, bloom where you're planted, right? That somewhat is a spiritual term, that at times you find yourself in seasons, but through faith and the grace of God, you're able to flourish even when it's difficult. And so really, this next iteration of strategic planning for me is about positioning Menno Haven to flourish even in these difficult days coming out of the pandemic. Because my own personal belief is that disruption creates opportunity. And so during this time, how do we seize that opportunity to leverage and increase Menno Haven's ability to be solid for the future for years to come? And so we want to bloom right here in South Central Pennsylvania and continue to grow and be a better community right here during this time. And these are all pictures that came out of Project Genesis and some of the things that we did. And I love this picture right here of this resident. This is actually in the nursing home and helping make cake and licking the batter, right? And Project Genesis and Operation Bloom are our next iterations of strategic planning, are always about us living our mission. Will always be about augmenting the life of people that live at this organization. They're not ever about building buildings. And sometimes we have to shape environments because environments matter and help us provide the care and services that we provide. But it's always about life and joy to those that we serve. And my heart is that our planning always keeps that at the focus and the center. All right, so Operation Bloom, again, this maybe comes back from my days of Bible college when I took homiletics. You know, they teach you to alliterate things. So I like alliteration. So Bloom is about building culture, is about ensuring our legacy, about working with operational excellence. It's about outreach and inclusion, and about mission innovation. And so there are 5 things, right? We want to build culture. We want to build an outstanding team culture capable of building, supporting, and retaining a dynamic workforce, right? We believe that is one of our top strategic priorities for the future. Legacy. We want to ensure Menno Haven's future legacy through the pursuit of growth opportunities, right? I talked about scale, and through being faithful stewards of our resources. Scale on both sides. Operational excellence. We want to update the master plan to support the long-term development and maintenance of buildings and grounds that enhance dignity, quality of life, and operational excellence. Outreach and inclusion. We want to develop an intentional philosophy for outreach and inclusion, increasing obtainable access to resident support services that exceed expectations and promote excellence across our continuum. Right? We have identified that there are pockets within our continuum where we are not supporting people well. And we want to make sure that no matter where someone is on the lifespan, that we are able to get the services and the resources to them to live their best life, no matter where they are within the Menno Haven continuum. And then mission innovation. We want to embrace our future mission innovation through the development of technology to enhance resident experience and augment staff effectiveness. Further, we want to develop a sustainability plan that reduces our organizational impact on the environment. So this is really about how do we use technology to support residents and augment the staff. And also how do we have reduce our environmental impact locally. All right, so next steps and timelines. I might have to come out here so I can see that. I'll go this way. So we are going to assign champions to finish each one of those. So this really is going to be a document. Can you hear me if I come out? Well, yeah, people on TV. Do we have a handheld? We do have a handheld. Yay, that might be easier. All right, that's good. So this will be a guiding document that will set direction in 2023 that will work over the next several years. So it will be a little less directive than Project Genesis. It will be more prescriptive of direction and can you hear, and planning that we need to do in the coming years. So we also want to have focus groups here at Chambers Point prior to master planning because we do believe there's some more clarity. Tiffany and I believe there's some more clarity we need. So we're going to do in the fourth quarter of this year some specific town hall, and I want everybody to try to come. I want to hear from every single person on this community about your view of the community, the continuum, and what do you need to have your best life here prior to us getting to master planning. We would like to have a final review by the Strategic Planning Committee in the fourth quarter and hopefully board approval at the end of the year. We'd like to do a big kickoff in communication in the first quarter. We will then begin to form individual teams to begin to working on each of these initiatives and enacting initiatives that we would like to achieve each year. And then get to the master planning portion in the second quarter. And then certainly, excuse me, I still have a cough, unfortunately. Keep that updated and ongoing through 23 to 25. All right, and now introducing your new Chief Financial Officer. No, not really. But I have going to give you the finance update. Isn't that exciting? I don't ever get to do this, so I'm excited about that. All right, so one of the things we look at is what we call EBITDA, earnings before interest, depreciation, and what's the A? There's an accountant in the room. Amortization, thank you. Earnings before interest, depreciation, amortization. So you can see in the month of May, our bottom line, we were $63,000 ahead of budget, which I think is really good. And you can also see for the year to date, we're $607,000 ahead of budget. We are 62,000 ahead on revenue and 545,000 behind on expenses. Now, for you go, wow, it doesn't look like inflation has impacted you. Unfortunately, that miss in budget is labor. So that's labor we budgeted we don't have. So, but our bottom line, we're a little over $500,000 ahead for the year, or 12.7%. Where the story changes is our bottom line, our increase or decrease in net assets, which, based on the depreciation we're taking on, we have been budgeting a decrease in net assets, but we are 37% behind there, or $1.6 million off. And where is that coming from? That's coming from our portfolios in the market. The market has not been kind. So very interesting, right? During the past couple of years, right, our portfolios have really helped us, and operations have been a little weaker. Well, coming in this year, thank you. In this year, actually, our operations are doing a little better. Why? Because census is getting stronger, and hence helping from the operations standpoint side. So census, as you can see, skilled nursing is a little bit behind, but certainly we have closed that gap. Personal care is ahead of budget, and Village Square really is ahead of budget. The memory homes and the manor are right on budget, but Village Square has been really surging in their census. And IL is a little bit behind, but pretty close. So Northgate's right on budget. Renaissance is behind, but improving. So, and I won't. Okay, I'll leave. I won't take your thunder. Chambers Point, Brookview, and the only other place we're a little behind is Brookview. And again, we'll have to get into this during our master planning, because some of our smaller cottages there really seem to be well outside of the parameter of the current market demand. So that's something we will have to look at to address. And then home and community base is where we are having our major census issues. And again, and I don't know if you're going to talk about home care, but part of that's just lack of caregivers. All right, so when we look at financial ratios, we are currently meeting our debt service coverage. Our minimum is 1.2. We're at 1.22. But need you to remember, last year we didn't get past 1 till this time, because as entrance fees come in, that really is what augments our ability. So we are projecting to be over 2 by the end of the year. And then our days cash on hand, we're at 460 days, which is very strong. If we were to go back to our modeling within our feasibility study, we were projecting to be about 100 days less than that at this period. So that's really encouraging. When you look at our balance sheet, a couple of things I want to show you. If you look at right here, so this is cash and cash equivalents. That's the money we have in the bank that we just keep liquid in the bank account. Right, so that has actually gone down 4.1 million. So you would say, oh wow, you're bleeding cash. And to an extent we are, but I want to point out to you right here, construction in progress. We've put 5.5 million in construction in progress. Well, where is that? Those are those new cottages we're building, right? So we have been funding those out of operations, out of our just current liquidity. So really, if you look at it at the end of the day, right, we are still about $1 million ahead from operations versus what we're putting out to build the cottages. So overall, I think we're doing really well. All right, and so from the department, currently, as I said, we have an interim CFO. She's doing a fantastic job. We actually have June closed. I'm so excited. And we've been using the firm RKL to outsource some other accounting support. All right, just a couple of things that I just wanted to end with is Menno Haven culture. I don't know if I talk about it a lot in this group, but I talk about it a lot within our team. But a couple of things that I just wanted to remind everyone of. Menno Haven actually has a founding verse that has been with us for many years, Psalm 106:3. There is a joy for those who help others, right? That's what Menno Haven does. and always do what is right. So as an Anabaptist Christian organization, right, that is one of our strategic statements. We always want to do the right thing in every situation. Not saying we always do, we try hard, and sometimes it's cloudy and we're thinking, we think that's the right way to go. And then for those of you that don't know, we have what we call our C's of Anabaptist distinction. And one is Christ. We will act in a compassionate manner who's consistent with Christ and our faith. We will have a character. We are trustworthy and always strive to do the right thing. We have a culture that we care about the people we work with and the people we serve. Collaboration, we're committed to working together and learning from each other. And change, we're open to change when change is beneficial. We believe that is a part of what foundationally who we are as an organization. And I think that's what I have today. And I think, Suzette, you're going to come up and talk about the auxiliary. And you can, I don't know if you want my handheld or if you want to get back here. Stay back here. All right.
Everybody.
Whoa. You can't lean in the water.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. That was a little scary. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I've got to pull up my notes. Give me half a second here. It has been a beautiful summer. Wow, we've been blessed when the rest of the country has been so hot. I know we've had a few hot days, but compared to our son in Omaha and our family down in Georgia, we've kind of been in a sweet spot of not too bad. So I will definitely take it this year. For the auxiliary update, I wanted to give you an update on, if you will recall, at the end of last year when we did our annual update, we mentioned that as an auxiliary board, we plan to do a review in July and see if we had the capacity to add additional projects and support this year. We did, as a board, come together and evaluate. And due to some slower than anticipated openings and other things, we decided that we're just going to hold for this year. And as every year, just to remind you of how we evaluate our project opportunities, we coordinate with Menno Haven in their capital budget cycle. And once the budget is released to all of the department heads, they then put forth projects for us to consider that were not included in capital budget so that we can augment things that Menno Haven just couldn't afford to do in the current budget cycle. And we anticipate being able to do that this year. And as you might recall as well, traditionally, our treasure chest is by far our largest fundraiser. And due to the fact that we've been able to bring that back online, although in a little bit of a smaller capacity than, we're not quite advertised and fully open to the general public. Word has gotten out and we are having people show up, but it's not advertised and at full speed yet. We do anticipate an increase in funds for next year. So we do anticipate an increase in our ability to support projects. Before we hit the pandemic, we were averaging close to $100,000 a year in projects. That has gone down. I think last year we were able to support 60,000. The year before was approximately 80,000. So just like everything, we've been hit with the pandemic, but we are excited to see us opening up, and we do anticipate an increase in the number and amount of projects we'll be able to fund for next year. I want to give you an update on the treasure chest. Thanks to your strong support, we have had a very successful reopening. We've had strong donations, and we've also had strong buying and support and income coming in, especially for the limited number. Again, we're mainly within Menno Haven, so that's been a real blessing, and we certainly appreciate your continued support in that major fundraiser for the auxiliary. We would like to ask if you could, please remember the auxiliary is open Thursdays through Saturdays, varying hours throughout the days that I believe are posted. And then if you make donations, we ask that you would please hold your donations until Thursday, if at all possible, or reach out to Billy Torrey if you need an additional time or place-to-place items. We have had people just dump them in the hallway. That can create some safety concerns for people walking by. So we also wouldn't want them left outside in the weather just in case something didn't need to be weathered. Just because it is a limited time, we do ask you keep your donations to Thursday if possible, or reach out to Billy, and she's amazing at how accommodating she is, so I'm sure she can work something out with you. We have an open house scheduled in October currently. We were hoping to have the final layer of blacktop down and to be opened fully to the public in July, but that's a little behind. Construction. I don't know what else to say. So with that, we didn't want to have people coming in and out over the blacktop as is, because there are some very uneven spaces. We considered it a safety hazard. So we have pushed that back. We anticipate advertising that 4 to 6 weeks ahead through Facebook and other social media. And we will have an open house. And Chuck and Hugh will say a few words to thank all of the people who have supported. We did have a significant amount of donations to support various items in the treasure chest, and we're going to have a little event for that. So keep your eyes out for that coming in October, and we hope you'll make time to come and join us and see some of the good items that will be on sale there. We also have a fall tea. For any of you that got to attend the spring tea, that was a really fun event. I think by far our most well attended and I think fun, but we also increased our ability for fundraising. I think we made about $1,500 more than we have averaged. So thank you again for your support. It was so popular, we decided to do another one in the fall because we had quite a list of people that wanted to get in. That one is scheduled for October the 8th. So please feel free to reach out to Billy again regarding tickets. Currently, it's going to be scheduled at 10:30 to 1 in the Life Center, and just a fun day. I think it's more about the fun we have than the fashions, although the fashions are there. And if you've not seen Hugh, Roger, Joey, some of the other male models, that alone is worth the price of admission. I did guarantee you need to come see that part. So, yes. I'm just going to highlight a few of our other upcoming fundraisers just for you to kind of keep in the back of your mind. We do have our second ham loaf sale. Those begin in mid to late September is when orders begin for pickup at around 1 to 3 on the 1st of November, around November the 10th. We usually offer the option to donate to another nonprofit. In the past, we've done the homeless shelter, the Salvation Army, Cross, which is for developmentally disabled adults. So we partner with another nonprofit to try and support the community as well. So that will be available. Again, that's sometime in September for orders with pickup in early November. And then we have our script card sales. They'll be open in October, pretty much all of November, and those will be delivered by December 9th. So if you give gift cards for Christmas, this is a wonderful place to help support the auxiliary, support Menno Haven, have them easily delivered very near you, and it doesn't increase the cost of your gift card. It's just a program where we get a percentage of the cards you purchase. So we appreciate any support you can give us there. We also have the Butcher Shop cookie dough and coffee sale, which was pretty popular. We had that a couple of years ago. And again, this is going to run pretty much through the month of November. We'll also have an option to donate. As you recall, we donated toward our own personal care, memory homes, and the healthcare centers. And we also have had such a good response from you that we've been able to share the cookie dough and the coffee with other facilities in the area. And we've gotten some very sweet and kind thank you notes from that we were, as an organization, thoughtful enough to consider seniors in other areas throughout the community. So thank you for considering that as it comes up. And I believe we'll also probably have our Together We Can pledge card. So at the end of the year, if you're looking for somewhere that might make a difference where your money can go, keep us in mind. I know there are a lot of good areas, so we don't want to be greedy, but I believe God puts it on people's heart when it's time for it to be where it goes. So we appreciate your continued support and everything that you do to help the auxiliary as we try to brighten the life and lighten the load of residents and staff here. So thank you very much. And now I believe next up is Chuck. Awesome.
Well, good morning. Still a hard one to follow, Suzette and Hugh, but I'm going to do my best. What a beautiful day in America and at Menno. As Dr. Davis told you in his presentation, there's a lot of good things going on here at Menno. We are blessed, and we need to thank God for that. So I just want to tell you a little bit in development, what's happening. I'm not asking you for money right now, so rest, take a deep. I see people holding their wallets when I come up here in pocketbooks. And I guess I'm supposed to turn this. Bottom one. Thank you. Okay. Most of you probably don't know that we have a very good scholarship program. And this is great for the workforce. To energize them, to keep them. They have the opportunity to expand their lives by getting education. And the first is the Elaine Shepard Scholarship, and these are funded by residents. This was funded by Elaine Shepard, who was a resident here before her passing, it was Beth Lucas' mother. The Lucas have funded this, and Melissa Rodriguez is an LPN, and she is going for her RN. And all of these have to fill out applications. There's a committee. It's not that easy to get it. So I think she can be congratulated for that. We also have the Anna Kermit and Anna B. Mills Scholarship. And they're both deceased now, but I remember working with Anna when I was in banking a while back to set this up. And she wanted to provide funding for the children or grandchildren of employees. And these three are still, I think they're seniors in high school. And Emily Stauffer, Mila Lawson, and Seth Spangler are children or grandchildren of employees, and they each got a scholarship, and they'll be going to college next year. Now, we won't pay them till then. They might spend it before then, but we'll escrow the money, and they'll be getting that. But we get a lot of applicants for this. They have to write an essay and tell us what they want to do in their life, what they think is special about their family member working at Menno, and they're very interesting, very well written. And then we have the William and Irene Rober, Mr. Rober, who's now deceased. He set this up in memory of his wife, who was a resident for quite a time at the Brookview Nursing Center. And he was so impressed with the care she got, he wanted to do something for employees. So as you can see, Jamie Smith is going to get her RN, Ashlyn Dow is going to get her RN, and Kaylin Bremen is going to get her LPN. And they have to fill out applications. We talk to their supervisors, and all three of them can be congratulated. We also have another scholarship program that now, if you want to give money to, the original individual that did it, it was such a demand. It's called Nurturing the Spirit of Nursing, that we gave out all the money. So we want to offer as many of these as we can, because this is, if you talk to we put over, probably in the last 10 years, all these scholarships, somewhere around 50 individuals were giving funds to go on, which would never had a chance before to do that. And it can change their lives for the better. Now I'd like to talk about, we've had a lot of amenities that were all resident funded. The pergola up here, funded by some residents. We've got the covering over it. We've ordered the fire pit. And the furniture now to go out there is being built, and that should be here hopefully in a couple of weeks. Well, maybe 3 or 4, but because it takes time to get things down. That's our problem, not getting the funding, it's getting the supplies and the materials. The Chambers Point Pavilion, we're working on getting that together to now. They have to build special trusses. I don't know anything about construction, but they don't want to put poles in the middle. So the whole inside will be open, and I think that'll be a great meeting place for you at Chambers Point. We'll have lights and fans in there and water. So I think and whenever we get some money, more money, we'll build restrooms there. They might be needed. So anyway, and then we have the Brookview Garden. It looks beautiful. In the one over here that was resident funded a couple years ago, and the other gardens around here, everybody must have a green thumb. They're beautiful. And Herb, I think you're building a cart now, or will be, for Brookview. You built the one over here, where if you haven't gotten vegetables, I ride by the one here and the one at the in-ground garden at Brookview every day and see what I'm going to have for dinner. And they have some nice stuff out there. So, and we're building the Ash Garden. The fountain, I think, is in. The concrete people will be coming to put it in, and Knitter House Concrete is making the stone to go behind it that you can put names on, and all the garden there with all the wildflowers where you can put the ashes. We've had a lot of people that wanted to do this, is there. So we think that'll be a great addition to Menno. Just some of the other things we're working on is, we've purchased the land. A resident gave us the funds. 39 acres? Something like that, back of the railroad tracks back here. And we're taking it slow and planning that. We're limited a little bit in that a good part of it is a floodplain. But we're probably going to do trails first. So we'll be doing some things back there. If you've got any ideas, let me know. And there's a number of other projects I don't want to mention yet to get your hopes up, but a couple of them will benefit you here at Chambers Point. And I'll let you know here in a couple of months what those are. And if you think of anything, a big thing, I know when Hugh came here, he said, Chuck, think of all the amenities we can do for our residents to make their lives better. So I've been thinking, and you guys have helped me. Come to me. What other things would you like? It's great to ride around and see people at the bocce ball court working, playing, to see the people working in their gardens. And I'll tell you, the one I love, because I love dogs, is a dog park. Because I'll tell you, I've talked to many of the dogs, and they love that park. They don't say a lot, but they wag their tails. So if you haven't been over there, it's just great. And that is over back of the lake at Brookview. Yeah, and very well laid out, and got little dogs and you got small, big dogs. We separate them, although the little dogs are the toughest one. The big dogs are scared of them. So anyway, but I'd just like to mention to you, about 6 weeks ago, we sent out the Benevolent Mid-Year. Benevolence is very important to us. We have about 150 people last year, residents that received funding, about $1.5 million. And a lot of residents tell me that is one reason they came here. Even though they probably wouldn't need it, they just felt comfortable. So I'd like to give you the very talented Tiffany Rife.
Wow, set that up for
I
me,
mean
boss.
that.
Thank you, friend.
Well, good morning, family and friends. How are you holding up? You okay? All right. Well, let's get through some of mine, okay? All right, just want to give you an update of our Phase 2 cottages. As Mr. Davis mentioned, this is going to be the wrap-up of our independent living expansion, a part of Project Genesis. I am happy to report that we are on time as far as folks moving in. We did have our first move-ins this last week or so. We have another group moving in next week. So it's really exciting to actually have people living there and really filling up that community. This is an old picture because I think the framing's already happening. But the last cottage, which is a time floor plan, is under starting to get framed and getting finished. So that is exciting. The last one. Thought I'd give you a little sneak peek of some insider. These are some kitchen selections. And so just to keep you in the loop, we did originally sell all 22 cottages. We do have one that has come back to us due to someone unexpectedly passing away. So we will be taking that one out to market to resell it. I haven't left the marketing team loose on it yet because they have a waiting list. We just want to make sure some things are all completed first before we take it to market, but I have no doubt in my mind that they will sell it in a heartbeat. All right, some other community updates. I did steal this picture. Does it look familiar? I stole it right from you. It is a beautiful picture. And when I saw it, I was like, I'm just going to use that again and just change some of the wording. So wanted to bring you up to speed about the historical marker. We've been talking about all the hard work. Bonnie Jo Collins, I think Joan Oakford, and some others really pulled together to get some information and submit it to the state. They should be completing that submission. The submission is done. The state should be doing their selection here in August, and we should know in September if the historical marker is coming. So stay tuned. Just wanted to keep that at the forefront of your mind. It's that once we know for sure, we'll go from there. And even if even the state doesn't approve us, we're going to get some signs anyway, because there was a lot of hard work put into that. And I think, what we talked before about remembering the legacy of the Penn Hall and the school, we want to make sure that that's known for a long, long time. Sticking on signs, wanted to give you an update about the wayfinding signs. I feel like I've been talking about this for 3.5 years, and I've only been in this position for 2, I think. We are super close. We are back with the sign company. They are finishing up some pricing. A couple things that we're just finding some inconsistencies. I want to make sure that all buildings have address numbers. If you kind of go around and you're looking for here at Chambers Point, if you punch in Chambers Point Healthcare Center in your GPS, it's going to give you an address, right? 1427 Philadelphia Avenue. But once you get back in here, there ain't no building that says 1427 anywhere. So these are just some of those little tidbits that we're finalizing with the sign company to make sure that there is visible signage as well as visible address buildings. Okay. So stay tuned for that. And sticking with signs again, I've told you I'm going to keep harping and campaigning about safety and security, about slowing down, driving the speed limit from the crowd. What is the speed limit here at Chambers Point? 17 miles per hour. I want to know who the genius was that came up with that. It makes you remember, right? It makes you remember. We got to get our cars to remember it though. But I do want to just continue to push and push. I want to thank the Health and Safety Committee of the council. Is that what you're called? Is that right? I don't want to call you the wrong thing. That forwarded me some pictures. I will let you know that at the intersection of Parkside and North Penn Hall Drive, the kind of middle intersection there at the Rose Garden, it was brought up that it is very difficult to see there. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I drive a big bus. I drive a little mini tank, so I sit up a little higher. So I need to be sensitive to those that are in cars and maybe sit a little lower. But at that intersection, there are beautiful Japanese maple and beautiful rose bushes in the Rose Garden, but it does make it very difficult to see coming out folks coming from the back of the community headed out Parkside to Route 11. So speaking with Carrie, we don't want to really whack back that Japanese maple. They're kind of persnickety, and you can only, slowly prune those. So we are going to prune it in the fall. However, there are 2 rose bushes right at the end of that intersection that we're probably going to yank out. Just so you have a little bit more line of sight right there at the intersection. So they're real close to the corner of the road there, just for safety. But again, I'm going to continue to say, if you're going 17 miles per hour, and if you stop at the stop signs, you still should have ample areas to see around. Okay? Carrie and I were talking about it, and he was like, if people would just stop doing the Philadelphia slide. And I went, the what? Because the Philadelphia Avenue slide, where we slide right through the stop sign to get out to Philadelphia Avenue. And I'm like, that's true. I have to tell myself not to do the Philadelphia slide. I don't want us to have to get to that point that we have to, which I know you'll all take me out back if I start ripping trees out, but that's not really the goal. Safety is the goal. We want you to be able to see. But again, I think if we're cautious, we follow the speed limit, come to a complete stop. Remember, I encourage you, hit the stop sign, count to 3. It'll encourage you to stop, and then go on your way. Okay. All right, just to give you a real quick snapshot of the independent living units that are available. I know everybody asked me, and this is I'm going to tell you today, and then tomorrow the numbers are going to change. So don't write these in stone. But we currently have no Brookview villas available. We have 2 Northgate apartments, 1 Chambers Point cottage that is completely released, and we're taking it to the market. We know we have a couple more coming, but right today, that is what we're out marketing. We have 8 Brookview cottages. Remember, Mr. Davis told you about, our line there for census at Brookview is the smaller square footage cottages. This is a little deceiving. I have in parentheses there 8. ER stands for early residency, or R is for rental. So we actually have 16 unsold cottages. The smaller cottages at Brookview, 8 of them are currently either as temporary rentals for folks, a team member, a board member that just needs something temporary. And our early residencies are for folks that have sold their homes, but their units here at Menno Haven are not completed yet. So think about those phase 2 cottage folks that are moving in those 100 areas. We have folks taking advantage of the housing market, getting their homes on the market, selling it before their new house is built. So now we have to find a place for them. So that's what 8 of those are filled with. Of course, those folks, it does help the bottom line at Menno Haven because they do begin to pay their monthly service fee. Okay. And then 17 Renaissance apartments. I have here rebounding the Renaissance. Many of you have been over and checked out the new and improved renovated apartments that we're focusing on at the Renaissance. If everyone comes in and stays in, we'll be at 28 units occupied. And we, for the longest time, had a hard time getting up to 20. So I'm really, really excited to kind of be over that 50% mark. I'm not happy, right? Because I want the building full, but I do feel like we're going in the right direction. So I'm really excited. If you have not had the opportunity to come over and tour the Renaissance and the new renovated apartments over there, give me a call. I'd love to show you. So you can tell your friends, tell your church folks, tell everybody the awesome things that we're doing there. And as far as home and community-based services, also to bring you up to speed, we are, really hurting in Elder Day and Menno Haven at Home. We have 2 different issues. Elder Day, we are really strictly controlled by the state of Pennsylvania because it's a congregate day center. And so when positivity rate gets a certain percent, it kind of eliminates folks that can come in that are non-vaccinated. It's really put a hurting on our census there. They've also restricted based on the square footage. So remember, before the pandemic, we averaged about 40 members that were coming in per day. Now we can have about 22 based on square footage. And now with the percentage being up a positivity, that knocks out our unvaccinated folks. So we're averaging about 18 members the days that we're open. We are not open on Tuesdays. We're now going to have to close on Thursdays until we can get those numbers back up. So the team is, stressing and are ready for the pandemic to be over, but has really put a really hard hurting on them. So please keep those folks in your prayers. We're working hard to build that census back up, and they have a plan in place to get things and get their name out there and to let everybody know, hey, we might not be fully at the rate we were prior to the pandemic before, but we still have our doors open, and it is an excellent program. Menno Haven at Home has the opposite issue. It's staff, right? We've got clients galore. We need the caregivers and housekeepers to manage all of those. So, when we talk a little bit about rate increases, currently the caregivers at Menno Haven at Home are the low guys on the totem pole right now. So we really need to look at how do we attract and retain caregivers in that environment, and what are the benefits for folks coming in to join that team. So that is clearly a big pressure point for myself and the team at Menno Haven at Home. So stay tuned for that. And Melissa, is Melissa here? She left me. She knew I was going to talk about her. So Melissa Raybon, she was at the back door when you all came in. If you do not know, Melissa is one of the independent living coordinators. Her office is at the Northgate building. And we are going to be transitioning Melissa to be a part of the marketing team. Leslie Ray, I almost said Leslie Miller. That's a blast for a class. That's a single name. Leslie Ray, who is our communications director, is actually going to jump off into a new adventure. She will be traveling and working remotely. Unfortunately, not here at Menno Haven, but she will be with us till the end of August. And we're going to have Melissa transition into that team and be a part of that department. If you know Melissa, you know that graphic design and writing is a part of her passion. It's what recharges her. So she is looking forward to sliding in and being assistant to the marketing team as Leslie goes off into new adventures. So this really will be impacting more of the folks that live at Northgate, because that's where her office is. And of course, they're used to seeing her on a daily basis. So we'll work through that at our next meeting at 2 p.m. But just wanted to give you a heads up that if you've seen Leslie out and about, she usually shows up to events, taking pictures. She controls our social media, things of that nature. Melissa will be taking over that role. All right, before I pass to the famous Roger Bynes, I just wanted to give you a couple reminders. Remember that Branch Creek Place is kicking off bingo. That's going to be Wednesday evenings. Every Wednesday evenings, Branch Creek Place is the Menno Haven sponsored senior center in Shippensburg. So if you are a bingo player, come on out. I am showing up tomorrow night with my dauber in hand. And what is happening Friday? The boat regatta. I can't wait. So boat regatta is this Friday. Come on out to the lake, bring your lawn chair, sit in the yard, find some shade. We're going to have a good time. It's my favorite day of the year. And 12:30, the model boats will be out on the lake. 1 o'clock, we're going to line up the cardboard boats to get judged. And then at 1:30, they'll come through and hit the water. And the festivities will really begin. Also, just when you're out and about, I know everybody here knows Angie Bender, right? And Angie Bender from maintenance, who comes and hangs your pictures. Oh, yes, that lovely lady. Yes. So her anniversary is today here at Menno Haven, and her anniversary of 40 years. 40. So that is amazing. So if you see Angie out and about, please congratulate her. She is clearly a wonderful asset to the team. But, give her a little poke if you see her out and about. All right, Mr. Bynes. Yes, sir. The question is, do I have any information on the Hamilton House? And the answer is yes. The Hamilton House, ooh, a gasp from the audience. The Hamilton House has been contracted. Yay. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, I don't have dates and things of that nature as I hit the mic, sorry. But we do have someone moving in. All right, thank you for bringing that up. Roger. Down button.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Gonna bring this ship home. So what would a town meeting be without a COVID update? So to mask or not to mask, that is the question. And I think even just coming in here this morning, a couple of us were like, well, should we be? Should we not? What are we? And so I'm going to share a little bit of information about kind of what's going on in the world right now. maybe help you make, your own decisions about what you think is the right thing to do. So on Thursday, the CDC did their weekly update, and Franklin County has transitioned into that high transmission rate. And that's several things that go into that to make that determination. It's the case rate per 100,000, hospital admissions, and then ICU use and hospital stays. So, definitely, there is high transmission, and I'll show you, we also have some high transmission at Menno Haven. But the CDC recommends, it's not a mandate, but here comes Melissa. She shows up after her big introduction. Hey, let's give her a hand. Woo! So they do recommend that people mask in public and on public transportation, and get boosted if you're not boosted, get vaccinated if you're not vaccinated, and get tested if you have symptoms. And you can always call our community nurse if you don't have home tests available. If you feel like you've got something going on, want to get tested, Carol can come out and swab you, or you can come to the Life Center and I'll swab you. We'll figure it out. And then if you're at particularly high risk, you should, maybe take additional precautions like, stay home, not go to, to the grocery store and such. So that's where Franklin County is sitting right now. This is where Menno Haven is as of 2 days ago. And you can see, we did have, there's one case at the Menno Haven Rehab Center, in skilled nursing, who is someone who came into from the hospital. We had 8 cases in personal care, which is pretty high. Those were all at Village Square. I will also tell you that every single one of those people at Village Square were vaccinated, boosted, double boosted. So what we're seeing, throughout is that vaccination status does not really make a big difference with this BA.5 variant. You'll see we have 6, and I mean, it's a bit of a moving target, for the independent living residents, but we are seeing more independent living residents testing positive recently than we have since the start of the pandemic. I think it's important to note that our most recent fatality was in September of 2021, so almost a year. And honestly, that individual was probably going to pass away with or without COVID, but that's how it gets recorded. And prior to that, it was, I believe, like April of 21. So of these folks, I am not aware of any hospitalizations that were specifically related to COVID in the independent living. I know there were none in personal care or in skilled nursing environments. So, this BA.5 variant, while it's not great, I mean, I think I had it back in May. Maybe mine was BA.2, I don't know. But I would assume what Hugh had was the BA.5, and he wasn't feeling good, but being vaccinated and boosted, really does prevent those additional complications. So, that moved. I had a circle on the 69, but it went somewhere, sorry. I just wanted to point out that this is the first month, or the first since we've been keeping track, that the independent living cases, cumulative cases, have surpassed both skilled and personal care. So, what we're seeing is a different, it's a different group. We're not seeing, the numbers of cases in the healthcare settings, primarily because, our team that are in there, they're still masking all the time. And as we know, I mean, we've got regattas and we've got, fashion shows and talent shows and everything. People are getting out more and more in independent living. And so we're seeing the higher cases. So for the month of June, or July, I thought this was interesting. We had 70 total cases, and that was the highest case count since the Omicron BA2 in January. What the difference is that, we're seeing definitely more resident cases. So that combined total makes this one of the highest months of the entire pandemic. So very, very interesting the way that this is shaping up. So I don't know if that helps to give you any thoughts on whether you should or shouldn't be masking, but our stance is that everybody needs to weigh their own risk tolerance for masking and for contracting the COVID-19, and make your own decisions, and we will support them. We do anticipate that we are going to have some Omicron-specific vaccines available for us September, October. We don't know. When we know, we'll schedule some clinics. Will Omicron still be a thing, or will we have moved on to the next? Who knows? But stay tuned, and when those vaccines are available, we will be sure to let you know. And then the only other thing I really wanted to share today was some of our information related to our 5-star ratings within our skilled nursing facilities. And this is interesting as well, because I didn't know this until this morning, that you'll see all 3 of our healthcare settings have an overall 4-star rating. And the last time we did this, we had 2 5-stars and maybe a 4-star, might have been 3, I don't remember. But what changed? Nothing changed here, with the exception that the Chambers Point Healthcare Center, with that last survey that they went through, and that was the best survey they've had in 10 years, their star rating increased. So that is really the only thing that changed. But somewhere along the line, the staffing stars, which I think it's important to note, that all 3 of our facilities are setting at 4-star staffing, which is no mean feat in this pandemic era. But the way they've changed some calculations in that, because I would have expected all 3 of our facilities to have an overall 5-star rating, but there have been some recent calculation changes, back behind the scenes, and so a couple of our facilities actually lost a star, and so that's disappointing. But I have little doubt that we still have the ability to get to that 5-star overall, and I don't think you're going to see nearly as many 5-star communities as a result of this ratings change. So with that, I think we can turn it over to Hugh for some questions and answers.
All right.
Will Melissa still be doing the Connect?
Melissa will still be doing the Connect.
If I test positive for COVID and I have symptoms, when am I able to go out in the community, not with a mask, being with other people?
Good question.
So the current guidance, and that's changed, but basically you should, for the general public, they say you can, if you are no longer symptomatic, you can come out of quarantine after 5 days, but should wear a mask for a full 10 days. So on day 11, you should be okay. Now, if you want to go to the extra step of doing another test on day 7, you could come out at day 8. But if you're negative, yes. Yes, it's all pretty arcane, but if you stay away from people for 10 days, you're good at that point.
All right, well, it's been our pleasure to be with you today. And y'all have a great day. And as we've said, stay safe. God bless. Thank you.